Men are struggling profoundly with depression. Men are struggling profoundly with feeling meaningless, like their life is meaningless. They feel like things are purposeless. They don't have drive. They don't have direction. They feel like they're not competent compared to their female counterparts who seem to be getting ahead and doing well. Men account for almost 3 of 4 deaths of despair from either an overdose or suicide. This is men. And the 2 words that showed up more than anything else is useless and worthless. Men psychologically need to feel like they are useful. We need to feel like we are doing something for the world. Right? We need to feel like somebody needs us. A lot of grown men especially, don't have close friends. They can't get jobs and, they struggle with education. What are they going to do but get angry?
Kids are growing up today totally removed from the practical. I talked to a doctor, and he told me he had trouble training interns to sew up cuts because the interns had never used scissors as a young child. Kids today are totally separated in the world of physical things. They're not getting out and observing stuff out in nature, and this brings up a major issue about skill loss.
Almost 1 in 4 boys, 23%, has a developmental disability. A lot of things that are described as disabilities are very much just naturally how a lot of boys are.
The kids are playing video games in the basement on an autism diagnosis instead of fixing elevators.
Men do tend to be more distracted. Men tend to need to be up and around and active more than women do.
The kids are getting screened out of these trades because they've taken the shop classes out of the schools 20 years ago.
So they're put at a disadvantage automatically.
I had a student in my class that had never used a tape measure to measure anything. And they're totally removed from the world of the practical. There's a relationship here between what goes on with industrial things and what's going on at school.
We got to get out of this idea of everybody needs to have a college education.
Everybody thinks they got to go to college. They come out of college and they can't find a job.
Decline in college enrollment was 7 times greater for male than female students. 7 times. That is a really significant figure. Men are less and less inclined to pursue higher education.
The last month, I've had a mechanic come on a plane twice, and both mechanics had gray hair. We need people that can do these things before the power grid and the water systems fall apart. We are paying the price now for taking out those shop classes. Good shop classes cost a lot of money. Now, people are starting to put shop classes back in, and you know what they're finding? They can't find anybody to teach the shop classes. I just heard about a brand new, beautiful welding shop built here in Colorado at a community college, and they can't find somebody to teach it even after they dropped the university requirement.
Kids today, there's jobs out there. There's a lot of jobs, but you just can't find somebody to come into the trade.
Men that have been raised poor have a far more difficult time escaping poverty than women who are raised poor. And a lot of that, I think, is having a male role model. Men need to have a strong male role model because we very much follow role models.
There ain't a whole lot of them folks around anymore. Old timers. We need to start listening to them. You'll learn a thing or two.
I'm interested in one thing at the age of 75 of helping the students who think differently get into really good careers where they can have satisfying lives.
You have to be a good person to be around to do well at a working class job.
When you build things and you can touch them, that's a whole different feeling of life, basically. The educations in the trades is just as difficult when you come right down to it. I'm not trying to put down people who want to be lawyers and so forth, but these are mostly kids who want to be engineers. If you're an engineer, you can be a great plumber and run a business that you'll do really well financially.
So to be a really good plumber, then you have to be highly skilled, but you have to be a clear and honest communicator, and you have to play fair in the most fundamental sense and check out how he interacts with his subordinates, and if he's someone who's teaching them, because you can watch that, and doing that in a fair manner and not talking down to them and not manipulating them and not tyrannizing over them. It can't be just reduced to being a good plumber in the technical sense. It's being a good person who happens to be a plumber.
When men feel like they have something to offer, they want to be involved more. How do we do this in the church then? Give men things to do. Make men feel like they are useful and needed in the church. Encourage them.
Because the jobs themselves are quite difficult. They're physically strenuous, they're demanding, and the payoff for that in part can be the camaraderie that emerges as a consequence of the shared enterprise. And that can make those jobs extremely worthwhile. You can make very, very good friends in a working class environment.
It's amazing how one compliment toward a man that he's doing something well will have a profound effect upon him. Men in the church to just say, hey, I saw you had this skill. It'd be great if you would help us with this.
The integrity of our society depends in no small part on the minority of people, and often working class people, who do that sort of thing exceptionally well, right? They're the people who they build everything and they keep everything going.
Just go sit down and have coffee with them. Just start hanging out with them and what they do. And just listen to them and let them talk about their years. And it's amazing the reality of life, the simple truth that you'll pick up along the way.
If you have an opportunity to encourage a younger man, kind of take somebody under your wing in some way, like do it. Really do it. Encourage them. Lead them toward the good. Lead them toward community, the church, to Christ, the forgiveness of sins, to meaning, purpose in Christ.